Hello everyone, this is June 2022 and after a rather long time I'm going to make a video dedicated to the undergraduate students, specifically to the first year students. My plan here is to share a few tips with you as you transition to the second year. But before I can do that, allow me to take you on a short memory trip back to November 2021. That was the time when I had made a video sharing a few tips with the students as they were beginning their first year engineering journey. Now, although that video was made for engineering students, it turned out to have a wonderful response, positive response, not only from the engineering students, but from students from various disciplines. That comment section of the video was filled with hopeful responses, hopeful remarks, a great amount of positivity, freshness, great cheer, and a rather nice positive longing for what lies ahead. But life and reality doesn't exactly dance to the beat of YouTube comment section. 6 months have passed since then. And in this 6 months, many things have happened, both good and bad, happy and sad. But no matter what your situation is now, I commend you all really, genuinely for having made thus far. Because I want to put it publicly on record that your particular batch, the first year batch, as well as the batch just senior to you, have had it absolutely the worst in living memory of all of us. Okay, and I really hope for all our sakes that your children and your children's children and for all generations to come never have to face this. But this is the reality that you are in. The only good thing is that it is coming to an end finally. In the coming few weeks, your first year studies are going to end, and my hope is that you can finally see the light at the end of the proverbial tunnel. And as you end up first year and transition to second year, I believe that you will get a very short summer vacation of a few weeks. At least here at IIT Kharagpur, the students are going to get about a month holiday. And in some institutes, I have learned that it is even less than that, maybe even two weeks of holiday, and in some cases only just a few days of holiday, which is really, really unfortunate, but I appreciate that different institutes have different constraints and they have to live with that. But no matter how short a holiday you have, I'm going to share a few tips. Okay, so these tips are specifically targeted at the first year students, although I think that the second year students who are transitioning to third year will also find it useful. These tips, mind you, are not going to add any points in your CV. Okay, these are general, practical, common sense tips. This is something to help you sow the seeds of long-term life benefits, like genuine life benefits. And trust me on this when I say that this is probably the last summer vacation, the last genuine, real summer vacation that you're going to have in a really, really long time. Once you go into your third year, fourth year, once you get your job, you may get some what is referred to as technically summer vacation, but you're still going to go through the grind of it all. Okay, so enjoy this summer vacation, no matter how short it is, savor it. Okay, so let's go to the tips. We have to address the elephant in the room, which is that all through these 6 months that you've spent in your first year, you have had to make many sacrifices, forego many enjoyments. And one of the foremost enjoyments for this particular generation, I hope, is to sacrifice, if we have done sacrifices, that is on binge watching shows from various kinds of streaming services, or maybe even on television. Maybe some of you have foregone playing some video games to a certain extent. Maybe some of you are planning to unleash yourself on binge watching these shows. And I can understand the temptation, but my advice to you is that you can indulge yourself a little bit, but don't overdo it. Okay, there are better things to do, as I will discuss over here. So try to spend as much time as possible away from screen. You have spent unprecedented amount of screen time, maybe starting even from your +2 all throughout your first year before the screen. So try to spend as much as time possible during this short summer vacation away from the screen. Okay, whether it is the mobile phone screen or the computer screen or the TV screen. Okay. Invest, this is my first tip to you, invest some actual quality time outside, okay, away from your screen, away from your computer. Get up from your computer, go outside, meet with your friends, invest some quality time in actual physical, genuine social interaction. I would like to mention a point here that especially for the introverted students, the pandemic has been bad for all of us, but for the introverted students, they may have had taken the pandemic as a kind of excuse, as an official excuse to isolate themselves even more from social interactions, because they naturally don't feel very comfortable with these kinds of interactions, and the pandemic just gave them an excuse to isolate themselves more. Okay, so if that has happened, it is even more pertinent and necessary that you try to get out of that comfort zone of isolating yourself, go out and meet people, meet some of your friends, some of your batchmates from school. And note that people who have had online classes from your home, this is your last real chance to meet up with your school friends, okay, your near and dear school friends, because now you'll be coming back to campus, or coming to campus rather. My next tip would be that maybe plan out a trip with your family and friends. Now, this is rather commonplace advice. People go out on trips in these kinds of vacations. So what's new is that instead of relying on your parents to plan out the trip, take a little personal responsibility and you plan out the trip. Okay, consult with your parents, of course, regarding everyone's availability and so on, but plan out the trip yourself. This will give you an immense amount of satisfaction. Okay, you'll have the fun, you'll also have a chance to grow up a little bit as an adult. Okay, so this kind of taking responsibility for oneself as over a group, this is something that is going to help you in great stead, stand you in great stead once you actually go to your campus. My next tip is that you invest some time on your personal development. What I mean is that personal development which is beyond the scope of your engineering and science or whatever other academic discipline that you may be in. So for example, many of you may be interested in playing sports and games, and that is wonderful. Now at the same time, if you are only playing sports and games as a side activity from your academics and maybe not spending any time at all reading some other books, okay, and by this I mean actual fiction, some kind of serious newspaper articles, maybe non-fiction books, something to expand your mind, okay, then please start doing that immediately. And if you're the sort of person, conversely, who like to spend a lot of time with books, with outside books like non-academic books, you like to read fiction, and I'm guessing that this will be the kind of people who are more like me, slightly introverted, don't like to mix up with others' friends, don't like to play games and so forth, so on and so forth. For these kinds of students, my personal advice is that try to get out of your comfort zone. Leave your books for a little while and try to go out and play. Now, in the very short summer vacation that you have, it may not be a practical idea to find a group of friends, mix up with them and then start playing. So what you can do is, at least for the sake of physical activity, maybe indulge in some kind of exercises yourself. Okay, this will bring immense health benefits to you. And referring back to that earlier video I made in November 2021, I had pointed out that health will be one of the major things to look out for your success in your academics. Okay, so this will be a very, very good investment in your personal development. And please also note that this advice regarding physical activities, about playing games, is not restricted to boys. I urge all the girl students also to engage in some kind of physical activity. You may even just ride the bicycle, okay, or if you have a group of friends, go and play with them. Okay, I know in a city environment this may be easier said than done, but I'm sure you're all intelligent boys and girls, you can figure out a way for this. Okay, but please take this very, very seriously. I would also like to point out here that going back to that advice regarding reading non-academic books, see, this is like a habit which you have to build over time. Okay, like overnight you cannot start reading books. So one starting tip, if you're really not accustomed to reading books, is that don't try to start reading books by picking up something very heavy. Okay, it's not going to work out. It's going to absolutely backfire. You lose all interest in reading. So my personal tip is that you start reading by taking up something very, very interesting, on something which you find a great amount of interest. Maybe pick up a very easy kind of thriller. Okay, it almost reads like a movie, or some kind of detective story, which is very enjoyable. I personally enjoy this very much. So Agatha Christie, Arthur Conan Doyle, they're classics. You can go with them, or maybe any modern techno thriller also. But start with something which actually interests you. Next tip is regarding writing. Now this is a very, very serious tip. You see, this particular generation of students, your generation of students, I'm seeing, and this is rather unfortunate, that you are slowly losing this ability to write in long form. And not just your batch, actually this has happened to all of us. Many of us who used to be able to write long form are slowly losing this habit, unless our professional duties demand of us to write long form. And mind you, in 5 years or 10 years time, this ability to write and write in a professional way will be like a superpower for your generation, as your generation starts to climb up the professional ladder in that 5 or 10 years time. Okay, so please be very, very mindful of this requirement. Okay, no matter what kind of field that you are going to go in, especially for those who have any interest in going for higher studies, this ability to write in a very clear, effective, professional way is going to be of utmost importance. And please note that writing is much, much harder than reading. Okay, reading is an active hobby, but writing is a much, much proactive habit than reading. You actually have to invest your brain, your hand together, your entire body in sync for writing. So this is not something which you can pick up on a whim overnight. I've seen a lot of students, when they're going for higher studies, they have to prepare for GRE and exams like that, and they start preparing maybe a month or two before their exams for this kinds of activities, for compositions, for essay writings and whatnot. And it's like a crash course kind of thing. It doesn't really help. So if you start early, if you slowly build up this thing, it is actually like a muscle. Like it's like going to the gym to build muscles. It doesn't happen overnight. And no matter what app you may be using, what shortcuts you may be trying to use, it is not going to help you. Okay, you have to go through the grind of actually building this habit little by little, every day, every week, over the years. Okay, so my suggestion, again, just like in the case of reading, is that start small. Okay, so what you can do probably is that the easiest thing to write is something autobiographical, like about yourself. Everyone likes to talk about themselves, which is why there is such a proliferation of vlogging on YouTube. Okay, everyone likes to talk about themselves. You don't have to do that, but you can always journal. Journal means keep a diary, write on it every night. It's the easiest form of writing, trust me on this. I've done this myself when I was quite young. In my high school, I started writing diaries. And then it actually develops your writing muscle. And then if you find actually that you like writing, you will yourself find yourself writing randomly some articles, maybe even a poem or a short story. Who knows where it can take you. Okay, so try to pick up this habit. Now, I've shared a few things with you. Please note that, as I've said earlier, none of this is going to give you any immediately visible benefits in the short term. Okay, so in each of these things, whether you are going out and interacting, genuine physical interaction with social interaction with others, or maybe planning out a trip for traveling with your parents and friends, family members, or reading or writing, apparently there will be no benefit in the short term. You may not see anything now. It will take time for you to see the benefits over the years. So this is a long game. Okay, these are the things, these are the ingredients for the success in the long game of life. All right, so be mindful of that. Don't get frustrated by small hiccups here and there. And over the course of this short summer vacation, if you are being too ambitious and try to do all of these things, you will probably fall flat on your face. Maybe pick up one or two of these things and try to do them well. And the biggest thing that you can do for your future self is to actually pick up one of these things. These are like habit forming activities, and actually make a habit out of them by sustaining them. This is very, very important. It is very easy to read just one-off book. It is very easy to write a diary for a few days and then give up on it. It is very easy to just go out and meet a friend just for the kick of it. But to make a habit out of each of these things, that requires sustained conscious effort on your part. Okay, it requires absolutely conscious and sustained effort. Sustained means carried over week after week, day after day. Okay, so unless you are very conscious about it, very serious about it, it's not going to help you. It's not going to form a habit, and you're not going to get the benefit out of it. And my hope is that once you pick up maybe one or two of these habits over the course of this short summer vacation, you're going to continue being involved with this activity, this habit over the course of the next few years, and then maybe this will be a key ingredient to your future success. So just like that earlier comment section of that earlier video in November 2021 was filled with hope, I want to end this video on this note of hopefulness and good cheer, and all the very best to you, all of you, for your final tests and assignments and wrapping up of the first year. All the very best.